Hi, this is Robert Kiyosaki, and you're listening to Capital Hacking. This is the most important thing you can listen to today.
Here's the one.
I have a dream.
With great power comes great responsibility.
I could do this all day.
This is it. Don't get scared now.
They may take our lives, but they'll never take our freedom.
Cinderella story out of nowhere.
It's in the hole. That the only thing we have to fear is fear itself.
Capital Hacking begins in 3, 2, 1.
Welcome back to Capital Hacking. It's your friend Josh McCallan. So grateful to have a co-host who is so dynamic. His name is John Edwin. John, welcome to the big show.
Hey guys, thank you so much for joining us. You know, what you don't see if you don't watch the YouTube channel is Josh always comes in with this really big tomahawk when he says, welcome back, and it just fires me right up. It's so exciting. Today we have John Galan and Helena Wu, who are wholesalers, and they are doing an amazing job, and they're looking to take their company national and franchising it.
Yeah. So many of us that listen here have big businesses and or portfolios, and we're either not looking to get active, but some of us need, there's this mindset that I've been working on, John, where even if you love passive investing, which I do, I love the fact that we have so many wonderful investors that come in passively in our projects. I also always recognize that a blend between some active, doing some deals of your own, and then using some passive deals as like a repository, or, you know, because you don't want to do every single thing active. That's why passive is great. But some active can add some juice to your cash position, more juice than a passive deal, because inherently it's active. So if you buy the right deal, do enough active work, you can, generate a big return in the short term. And these guys are doing that. And I wanted to bring it to our listeners who are, do they need one more type of an income stream? Do they want a little more cash? Maybe they want to spend 12 months generating cash. I think we just unveiled a strategy laid out pretty well by these people that they could add to their portfolio.
Yeah, let's get in it.
Let's do it, baby. See, I told you, John Edwin, I told you if we go to events and we meet people, we will find the best guests for the show.
I mean, that's why we go to events, is to not just gain information, but gain relationships. So we have John Galan and Helena Wu here joining us today. Really excited for you guys. John, if you can give us a little bit of your backstory, and then Helena, if you could give us some of your backstory, and then we'll talk about your business and what you do, because I know you guys are exploding.
Yeah. So first off, I just want to thank, Josh and John for having us on here. It's an honor. It's really great. I met Josh at MM6, and I'd never met anybody that, buys and sells resorts before. So it was pretty cool. As John said, my name is John Galan. I was originally a CPA for 4 years. I started seeing that all of my high net worth clients were in real estate. So I figured, well, there's the answer on how I make a ton of money at first. Then I was going down the whole consumption, but no action stage, where I did for 3 years, just listening to podcasts, reading books, but not making a single phone call. Then in December of 21, I found Jamil Damji and Astro Flipping. It was a wholesaling mentorship that I joined. And then January 24th of 2022 was when I made my first ever phone call to an agent to start wholesaling. But throughout that time period, I was still doing my accounting business. So I was a CPA, so I was doing busy season for the firm I was working for. I had my own side business, so I was doing taxes as well. And then I started my wholesaling business during that time. During that whole time, Jamil really was big on mindset. So I was really cultivating and working on my mindset, my mentality, my mindfulness, all of that stuff. And I had an intention to get my first deal done before, like on the last day of tax season, which was April 15th. So throughout that whole time, doing everything, lo and behold, 2 weeks before, I got really, really intentional. I realized a lot of the reasons why I haven't gotten it was the conversation I was having with myself subconsciously. I kept giving myself an out, as if I didn't get it done, it's okay, because of all these, I was rationalizing to myself, right? tell myself these rational lies. And then I changed that. And April 15th, I was able to get my first deal done. Fast forward, I decided I was quitting my job in June. I didn't get another deal done from April to June, but I knew that deep down, I knew it was probably a test. I believe in God or, higher power or whatever. I knew that this was a test for myself to see how strong is my faith and my abilities. Since I said I was quitting my job, still went through with it, gave my boss a two-month notice because I really appreciate everything they did. And then literally right after I quit, 2 weeks later, I got another deal done. And then that next month, I was able to do 5. Fast forward now, Helena and I are doing about 5 deals a week at least. So we wholesale about, anywhere from 10 on a bad month to 20 on an average month in the state of Florida right now. And we're working on building our wholesale company to become a national franchise.
Wow. Love it. Great recap there of your story. Helena Wu, you are on stage. Can you give us a little background about yourself?
For sure. So I was born and raised in China and had all my education back there. And I came here 2018 for my master's degree at University of Pennsylvania. And because of the Asian education and stuff, so in my brain, I'm always, having the corporate life career, climbing the career ladder is my only way to go. Like entrepreneurship has never been something in my mind until I started working on Wall Street for a couple of years, in asset management, wealth management, investment banking, and then start reading more books like Rich Dad and Poor Dad, which completely changed my mindset. That's when I started looking into different, investment vehicle to build more generational wealth for myself, listening to Bigger Pockets, stuff like that. And I know I don't want to, I want to have the time freedom to myself to be able to, actually grow this as a whole business. And then that's why I started the whole investment as wholesaling, because that's the quickest way for me to generate the cash flow and quit my W-2 job. So I was able to quit my W-2 as an investment banker after doing wholesaling for half a year, so 6 months. I think I started sometime around October, September last year, and quit my job early beginning of this year. And then moved to Florida, which is my current main market. And then now have been doing wholesaling for just over a bit 1 year. And me and John were partner. He just told, our volume right now and our vision for our wholesale company is to become a national franchise company. So now we're learning from business coach how to build an actual business. So we're the business owner, not the wholesaler. We're operating it as passive business so that we can have more time to do multifamily and other cool things in real estate.
I'll tell you, when I met you guys were tenacious at getting to know everybody at one of those conferences. MM6 stands for what? Multifamily Mastery 6, I think it is, with Gino and Jake and Gino.
Mm-hmm.
Great group of people there. I'll tell you, that was that in Orlando? Where were we?
Yeah.
Orlando, right? Yep. So one of the things that caught my attention, Helena, is you were an investment banker. You went to University of Pennsylvania, which means Wharton, right? Did you go to Wharton Business School?
So for my master, it's half of them is in Wharton Business School, but because I'm super into psychology science, so I also took the major of behavioral science.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, that's a prestigious school. And then John being a CPA, that's super prestigious. So I love that you guys jumped in wholesaling, which we're going to have to define because not everybody on the show has talked about that or heard about that. And listeners are sitting here going, these seem like nice people, but I don't know what they're talking about. So we'll define a few key terms. Let's start with wholesaling, John. What is wholesaling and how's it different than just buying a building?
Yeah, so I always try to simplify it as much as possible without throwing out all these terms. So it's essentially, I'll get a property under contract, and then I will assign my right as a buyer in that contract to another investor for a fee. So if Josh, if you're selling a house, you and I go under contract at $200,000, and then I assign it to John at $210,000. I make the difference between the $210,000, what I assigned it to John at, and then the purchase price of the contract, which is $200,000. So I'll make $10K. I don't actually close on the deal. Only money I put up is earnest money. If anything, I'll get that back. But at the closing date, my right as a buyer got assigned to John. So John is now the buyer. Property goes to him. I get the 10K, I'm out of the deal. I have no ties to the property whatsoever after that.
But may I ask a clarifying question? So for the families and people that are out there listening, so the 10,000 is paid at closing, correct?
Yes.
Correct. It goes from title to me, either in the form of a check or a wire, however I prefer.
And it's fully transparent to everybody. So the seller knows that you changed the buyer.
So when we evaluate a deal, so wholesaling is just one of multiple exit strategies. So you can buy it, you can fix and flip it, you can wholesale it. So when we look at a deal, we view it from all angles, and wholesale is just allow us to, help the seller accomplish their goal, which is to sell the property. So if a property doesn't fit our criteria, instead of saying, hey, we're canceling, we're backing out, good luck with finding a new buyer, we're saying, hey, let me help you find another buyer so you can get your house sold quickly, and the buyer can get their property, and we can make some quick fee in between.
Well, one thing I really like about wholesaling, I've wholesaled a few deals, nothing like what you guys are doing. And I literally did it, which might be one of the reasons you guys are doing it. I did it for seed money so that I could start then buying my own real estate, which my wife and I were able to accomplish. But that's a great way to grow money in real estate really quickly. And can you guys talk about like some of the projects that you typically work on? Are they single family? Are they multi-family? What does that look like?
Yeah, so most of them is single family or small multi between 1 to 4 units. We did wholesale one, which is 8 units in Texas, but most of them is smaller deal because it's higher velocity, quicker turnaround, and bigger cash flow.
Okay. All right, we're going to break this business plan down a little more if you don't mind. Okay, so there's 2 questions that every listener is driving around going, saying, they're thinking out loud. Okay, they understand the mechanism a little bit. They don't know how you find these houses to buy.
Yeah.
And we don't understand why you're able to get them at a better price than normal people, because you're superheroes of some sort. And then we don't know who these cash buyers are. So why don't you break into the model a little bit? How do you find sellers and how do you find cash buyers?
Yeah. So I'll talk about the acquisition side, and then Helena will go ahead and discuss the disposition side. So typically when people think of wholesaling, they're thinking of pulling a list, cold calling a bunch of sellers, and just hammering those phones. The way we were taught were to, instead of using sellers, build relationships with agents. So we call a lot of the agents. We're calling agents on listed properties, or we're texting agents to try to find pocket listings or listings that haven't been hit the market yet. But we're not looking for retail houses. Like if I see a house and I'm like, I would move into that. I'm not going to try to wholesale that, right? Because you're going to have the conventional buyer that's coming in a lot higher. You're going to have the FHA buyer. You're going to have a lot. It's going to make more sense. And it's not going to make sense for me to offer, 30 cents on the dollar on a house that is calling for, 80 cents on the dollar, 90 cents on the dollar. So I'm not spending my time on every single property. It's just properties that are either not financeable because they have a hole in the roof. It's got a hoarder house, or it's just a really, really outdated house. Like it's still got the green rug or like the pink bathrooms. So stuff like that, where it needs a little bit of love. So I'm not going after the same properties that a family are going after, right? So we call a lot of agents, and we just build the relationships with agents. And agents just mostly care that you close. So when we close and we have a track record of closing, well, now they're going to keep sending us properties. And then the other way we get properties is, since we're in a lot of different communities with wholesalers, which is not unintentional, we do that to connect with more people. We help a lot of other wholesalers sell their deals because we're really tapped into our market, and with our buyers, we understand the numbers really well. So we could help some wholesalers with giving them buy numbers for their deals, and then we could sell their property for them. Or people send us their deals, we'll send it out to our buyers because we have really good relationships with buyers, and then we'll sell them that way. So our 2 biggest ways of getting properties are other wholesalers and real estate agents.
All right. So when you say that, that means are you going to give a normal sales commission to the agent who told you about 123 Main Street? How do they get compensated?
They usually already have a listing agreement with the seller, so they still get paid typically, as normal. They'll get paid. I'll give them the option of either representing me as well and getting double commission, or I'll just waive the buyer side commission altogether. and then they'll get their 3% that they already agreed upon with the seller. So they still get paid normally. In the off chance that an agent brought me a deal and they're not getting any commission whatsoever, especially if they know that I'm wholesaling, I'll take care of them. I'll get them paid their commission, and I'll just pay them straight from my assignment fee, which will get taken out at title.
So Helena, now that we know how to buy them, which that's compelling. So I think the call goes like this. Mrs. Agent, when you have a property that is so dilapidated and or outdated, please call me and I'll buy it. Is that basically the
pretty
pitch?
much. Pretty much, like anything that needs work or a lot of work. Like if you have a house that you want to burn your clothes off after you walked it, like that's perfect for me.
And agents get those phone calls. See, I never thought agents would even go look at one of those dumps.
No, they do. They don't always do. There's some agents that focus only on retail and they don't like these properties, but then there are agents that understand the investment side of things and they like looking at those properties. And then the way that we compel them to work with us, especially once they know we wholesale, because in the beginning, like the wholesale word is very taboo to agents. It's almost like I'm telling them, hey, I'm going to lock up a property and I'm going to cancel the day before inspection ends or the day we're supposed to close. So in the beginning, you don't really come off as a wholesaler right away. But once you close and you tell them I wholesaled, the last 5 properties we closed on, I wholesaled every one of them. Send me your deals first. If anything, I could cut you in on a fee, or I'll just pay you, a JV. We'll JV, and you don't get paid by the seller. You keep your commission.
Helena, it sounds like you're talking to investors, though. You're the other side of this equation a lot of times. Maybe I'm wrong, but would you teach us more about that? Teach us more about that strategy. How do you find them?
Yeah, so most of our deals right now are, fixed or cash deals. So the investor buy them, either will fix them up and then resell them as a beautiful, renovated properties to a family, or they will just hold it as a rental. So what I did is do the reverse engineer. If I have a property in a particular area, I will just pull a list of renovated, remodeled house in that particular city, county, and then I go back to, tax record, say who were the last seller of that property, which is the flipper, the investor. And then I escape trace their contact information. I reach out to them, compliment on their past flip, tell them what I do, how I can bring value to them, and basically collect their buy box and put them in my CRM. So next time when I come across a deal fitting their buy box, I can send it to them, package it up, and then sell it to them.
I love that. That is so smart. Now, area-wise, you guys I believe, are both in Florida. Is that where you primarily do your wholesaling?
Yeah, we're doing deals all over Florida. John is in New York. I
live in New York. But we're doing the whole state of Florida now. That's our first market. And then once we delegate out the Florida market, we're going to jump into a next. And then the intention is to have 5 corporate offices, which is 5 different markets, and then franchisees all over.
Love it. And then, Josh, do you want to talk about do a real deal? What do you call it?
A deal real dive.
Deal real dive.
Yeah, because I took it from Bigger Pockets. They used to say a deal deep dive, which is awesome, but I thought we had to spin it a bit. So these are real deals that were pitched to us. And so back to the story here. I see a lot of tenacity in you guys. I see a lot of human capital, as John and I talk about a lot. And, as you develop your human capital, which John Galan talks a lot about mindset. But when I saw you guys, I said, well, why don't we buy a deal together with you guys? So I'll be your buyer. My buy box was St. Augustine, Florida, because, I really needed a screaming deal, because I thought, well, we're going to be buying several properties down there that complement our original business plan. Let's get a few properties from the house side. And you sent us a deal, and then you followed up with me. Let's go through the deal you found. And I know you said it's not your favorite deal, but that's okay. You'll be able to teach the listeners why this wasn't a great deal that you and I were looking at together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Let me pull up the deal specs on my computer real quick. So this deal we had gotten, I sent you Martin Luther King Ave, right?
Yep.
Okay. So this deal we had got from a wholesaler friend of ours. He sent it to us. and he was asking, where was it? He was asking like 399, 900. That was his asking price. So when he sent me the deal, he had an ARV of 585.
Just
And
define what you just said there, so we don't all know.
sorry. So ARV stands for after repair value. What that means is after you fix it up and it's fully renovated and it looks beautiful, if you were to list it on the MLS, you could sell it to a retail buyer for $585,000.
Okay. And
so
did you first of all, did you believe that? First of all, do you believe that that is a true number for that property?
There are very few wholesalers that send me deals that I believe they're ARV. So we always run our own ARVs. There's like maybe one person that if he sends me a deal says ARV is 585, I will say it sure is. But 99.9% of the times, I always run the properties myself. So I had ARV because it's a 2-1, right? It's a 2-1 in St. Augustine.
Teach us all these terms if you don't mind. What's a 2-1?
2-bedroom, 1-bath. It has no garage and no pool. Okay. In Florida, you don't really want to compare a house that doesn't have a pool with a house that does have a pool. You don't want to, if the area has a bunch of 2-bathroom houses, you don't really want to compare your 1-bathroom house with a bunch of 2-bathroom houses. Okay. And you also want to stay within like 250 square foot range of your house square footage. Those are just like typical appraisal rules. So he sent it to me. It was a 2-bedroom, 1-bath. And I ran it as a 2-bedroom, 1-bath. The after repair value was only $445,000, far off from what they said. But instead of just looking at it as it was, I've noticed some other comparable properties. So a comp is a already remodeled house that I'm using to justify why I think we could resell it at that price. So I noticed that there were some other houses that used to be 1-bathroom that had a 2nd bathroom added. So so I looked at it in a different way. Instead of just looking at it as is, well, what if we do a 1-bed, 1-bathroom addition? If you add that to the property, ARV jumps up to $575,000. But now with that, the repair cost increases.
Right.
Because now we're adding a bed, we're adding a bath, and we're fully remodeling everything else. And you have to deal with permits, a timeline, all of that good stuff. And you got to make a profit. So I think this property needs to sell at 360. And they were asking closer to 400.
Now,
so I sent it to Josh.
Yep.
To see, hey, Josh, I think this is really tight, but I know you're really looking in St. Augustine. What is the number? Like, we could get it to you at this price. Where do you need to be on this one? Just to see where you would kind of come in, because you were looking at it at a different angle. You weren't looking at it for just a typical fix and flip. So you might have looked at it in a way I couldn't see it. And you might say, hey, yes, I'm good with the 400 because I'm going to use this for strictly a short-term rental and this thing is cash flowing like crazy. So 400 makes sense.
Talk to me about short-term rental verification. How did you already check to see if this would work, or how would you have checked to see if this one, legally would work?
So we don't really, if a property only makes sense as a short-term rental, that buyer pool is very small.
Right.
And especially recently when when inflation was skyrocketing, when the interest rates were going up, the one thing a lot of people stopped doing were taking vacations. And now there's all these things going on with Airbnb about how expensive they're becoming, and there are some regulations in some areas, not everywhere in Florida, but people are cracking down on Airbnb. So if it only makes sense as an Airbnb, but it doesn't make sense as a long-term rental, it doesn't make sense as a flip, it doesn't make sense as a midterm rental either, we're not really going to waste our time trying to sell that property, because that takes one buyer that, to be honest with you, if it only gives you one exit strategy, I don't think it's the best decision. You need at least 2 exit strategies.
See, this is great, man. You just did a great job proving some of the value that you brought to this. Now, if you and I wanted to be more aggressive and maybe offer, because look, I look over the pictures of it and it seems like it's in okay shape. There is a separate garage, but
Mm-hmm.
here's the problem. You and I don't have the deep expertise to know if I'm allowed to do anything with that garage. Am I allowed to make it living space? Is Airbnb against the rules down there? What's the next step? If it's this tight, you're saying let's just walk away. But if it was attractive enough, if the price came down, it might be attractive enough if those other factors could happen. How do you get from here to there, John? Or do you have a way to learn all those data points?
For specifically, like how would my next step be if the numbers
are
made
we
sense?
allowed to convert the garage? Will we, things like that?
So that just takes, you would have to call the city, call the county, get on the phone with the with them and ask them all those questions, see like, hey, if I'm going to convert this garage, is this okay? What do I need? How long typically is the permit process going to take? So you could kind of factor that in, because then you'll factor in your holding costs. But if you want to also see if it's, you can have it as a short-term rental, you're going to want to look up the short-term rental rates. You could go on stuff like AirDNA. But again, that number has to make sense for either a short-term rental and the
I
flip,
think you're right about
a short-term
that, by the way.
rental and a long-term hold. It has to make sense for multiple exit strategies.
And
So even if the number makes sense as a short-term rental, but nothing else, I would try to get it to where it makes sense as a flip. And then if I wanted to do a different exit strategy, I could.
And I'll do one last deep dive question, then we'll get out of here. But on that, I had to ask you about the garage. The neighborhood doesn't look great. In the house next door, looks like it has boarded windows. Is the play to call that house too and see what's going on there?
Yeah. So if we're running comps, right, and if I see a beautiful house right next there, I'll shoot that address over to our teams like, hey guys, this might be a potential buyer. If we see a really ugly house and it's either listed or not, we'll take that down that address, and I'll see like if that boarded house, let's just say, was listed for 98 days on market and it's got like 500 views, I'm like, we got to call that house right now, because there's a lot of motivation there. So we keep our eyes on for everything. Yeah.
I'm on it now, and you have the house right next door with boarded windows and the house to the right of that with boarded windows. Something's wrong. First of all, something's wrong with that street.
And that's also how you could tell sometimes if the areas aren't the best. And when you're virtual,
however, 2 houses down, a brand new Mini Cooper and a fixed up house. So you're like, wait a second, we should buy all 3 of these houses. Why don't we look into that, John and Helena? So anyway, let's buy all the block. Let's go. Anyway, I would seriously be interested, right, John, if you could fix up the block and get it up a level.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you want to take down the whole block, and I would keep them all just to keep raising that equity. A question for you guys. So you're saying that you're doing or shooting to do 20 deals a month, which sounds like a lot of deals. I mean, that sounds like, what is that, 240 deals a year? So at that pace, how many phone calls are you making? How many people are you talking to? It just blows my mind that you guys are doing 20 deals a month. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's actually the power of having the community and building relationships with people, because believe it or not, like those deals are almost 100% brought in by me and John, and all of them are inbound leads. So it's like 2 of us from all the inbound leads. So we don't actually call people to get deals. People just know us. They know how we work. They trust working with us, the transparency and everything. So they just email all the deals to us. And in terms of the dispo side, yeah, I do make a lot of phone calls, but I have a VA. She's helping me with a lot of initial phone calls, and I'm doing more negotiation, closing on the deals. So it's not like crazy amount of deals because our lead generation is more inbound. But now as we bringing more people on the team, we'll have them do more outbound kind of outreach. That's just gonna exponentially grow our total leads amount and then translate into the deals we close on a monthly basis.
That's great.
And I just want to say one thing on that for people listening, like, oh, let me get into wholesaling. It's before we built up our credibility, we were hammering the phones the whole time. Like when I was by myself, I was nonstop calling. 9 to 12 was like church for me. I would not do anything besides call agents from 9 to 12. I would analyze anywhere from 30 to 50 properties a day.
Wow.
So it wasn't like we just started and people knew who we were and they sent us deals. No, we put in the work. Like we put in the calls, we put in the reps. We learned all this stuff from mistakes what we made, from conversations that we've had. The reason why we're so good at numbers is because we've seen a lot of deals. Like in a week alone, I'll probably comp at like 300 deals. So like from doing the reps is how we got better. And now people know who we are from the consistency that we have. And it's not just because, oh, it's John and Helena, they'll sell your deal. Like, no, we're reliable because we're consistent and we just don't stop.
Yeah, I can see that. That's amazing. Now you just named your company Easy Residential. Can you explain that to us?
Yeah, so EZYRES stands for Easy Residential because most of our wholesale deals are, residential 1 to 4 units, and they're mostly in a fixer upper condition. So buyer can, do some renovating and have value add and resell it to a family. So that's because it's pretty quick. The transaction itself is quick, and fix and flip is also a quick process. So we want to make it easy, smoothless for the buyers. That's why we call it Easy Residential. And if you take the first letter of both words, which is E and R, it's like ER, emergency room. For us, it's like emergency rescue. Basically, we bring the ugly house back to life quickly.
Awesome. Next question is now, do you guys attend a lot of these closings? How does that work you said sometimes you'll get a check or, you'll be on the HUD sheet. How do you get paid by going to all these, closing all these deals?
So on the HUD, so usually like part of our process now is 3 days before the closing date, I'll have the title company send me a copy of the preliminary HUD so I could review it. I'll just make sure I'll look that everything looks good. And then I see assignment fee and our company name and that the amount is correct. And then once I see that, I'll have my TC go ahead and tell them I prefer to have our payment wired. And then I'll provide title with my wiring instructions, and then they'll call me, confirm them. And then the day we close and fund, the wire will hit the bank account. We do a lot of deals with one title company. So now I don't even have to say that. She just sends us the HUD. I approve it, and then next thing I know, the money's in the account as soon as we close. She knows my wiring instructions, all that stuff. So when we do a lot with the same title company, it's pretty seamless after that.
And that's another example of building relationships because we do so many volumes together. Like they are really looking out for us. If there's anything, they will give us a heads up, things to watch out for. And sometimes, when we speak with newer agent relationships, they need more credibility. And then they can call our title company, and title will give us, tell them, hey, here's the track record of John and Helena, and they're very reliable to work with. So to help us build that relationship with newer agents.
I think you guys have done a great job of teaching wholesaling. I was hoping we'd go down the path of financial creative finance, but I'll tell you what, you guys have done a great job. And one of the things we're talking about a little bit these days, John, and you said it earlier, Mr. Edwin, is it's a great way to generate some cash, these active investing strategies. So I'll probably ask this as a question, but make it a statement at first. So for people that join projects like what we do, it's awesome because it's hands-free. They get all kinds of benefits of having direct ownership of real estate, passive losses, annual cash flow, all that good stuff, appreciation. But they don't quadruple their money in a year because it's passive and there's not, we're not shooting for that kind of risky deal. But in this scenario, you can double your money or make basically very little cash is needed to start in this active. Do you want to tell us the path for somebody who's listening now and wants to try this? What would you tell them to do, Helena? Or what would you tell them to do if they want to join forces with you or do something like what you do?
Yeah, the consideration for me and John to start with wholesaling is we both want to find an investment that can quickly replace our W-2 income. And the wholesaling is the quickest way. And now our plan is we will build up the wholesale operation as a business. So we won't be in the business super busy as the wholesaler. We'll be working on the business. So the active wholesale business will become relatively passive for us. And now we have all the cash we can deploy in multifamily as GP, LP, GV, whatever, and use the depreciation from the multifamily to write off the active income from the wholesaling. So they kind of go hands in hands together. That's our play. And for someone who wants to get started in wholesaling, I think first the question is if wholesaling is something for you, because it's a grinding business. It's not easy. It's tough. So if you just want a short-term cash to have some saving on the side so you can focus on other things, yeah, then go ahead. If you want to just be the wholesaler for forever, I don't think that's practical. If you want to build a business off of it, like me and John, then that's a different route. If you want to, work with us, feel free to reach out, send your deals our way. We're happy to take a look for you, coach you on the comping, negotiation, help you sell the deal, all those kind of good stuff.
Yeah, and
follow up. Once you're done, I have a follow up. Go ahead, John.
Okay. Yeah, I would also say if you're interested in wholesaling, just like Helena said, it's simple, but it's not easy. Okay. It's very simple, the wholesaling aspect and what wholesaling involves. It's just not easy because there's a lot of rejection. There's a lot of just constant calls being made. There's a lot of days where you just have to hammer the phones, even if you don't want to, right? But more importantly than that, the good thing about wholesaling is it makes you super, super resourceful. You have to really be, thinking outside the box. How can I get better? How can I do this? I love the wholesaling business for that. But if you want something where it's hey, it's quick cash, I'll just make 5 phone calls, I'll get paid 20 grand. It's not going to work that way. You might get your first deal done that way, but if you want consistency and results from the wholesaling industry, or even in any industry, honestly, it's going to take you, you're going to need the persistence, you're going to need consistency, and you're going to need determination. You're going to have to call when you don't want to call. But regardless of whatever you do, I do recommend everybody get really into mindfulness and really understand yourself. Whatever business you do, I think the most important conversation you could have is the conversation you have with yourself. And I think you should talk to yourself in the morning and at night. And then you really start to align yourself with what you want to do.
Yeah, very miracle morning-esque. Now, let's pivot to something you said, Helena, about we're working in the business now, and someday we want to work on the business and have it generate cash as an operating business. That's very Michael Gerber. That's great. I love it. And it almost sounds, here, I'll use a paradigm. There's a business out there called We Buy Ugly Houses. And there's a whole bunch of home something other ones, a lot of knockoffs from We Buy Ugly Houses. Are you suggesting there's a way to build a wholesale version of We Buy Ugly Houses? Is that kind of what I hear you guys describing you want to create?
So we're trying to make it a national franchise company, and main strategy would be direct to agent and joint venture with other wholesalers. So I think We Buy Ugly Houses are more for seller, direct to seller, right? Different approach. I don't know if they actually wholesale it or fix and flip it, or what's their exit strategy.
I think they flip it most of the time. I think it's not a wholesaling business. I'm sure they do some of that, but no, I think they're trying to buy and build portfolios and sell those.
Yeah, then I would say it's pretty much something like that. Can be franchised out, and me and John will be the business owner, have the operation operating itself. It's just a different entry and different exit.
Well, it's interesting because I kind of like where you're going with this. I just wonder, with the world of franchising, which I've looked at and bought a franchise 12, 13 years ago, lost it, but I loved the concept. I really wanted to be a franchisor someday, which is kind of what we do with hospitality now. But the model there in franchising, one of the things is if you can generate the consistent traction for a franchise buyer, Brian Beers talks about this a lot.
Yeah.
Is that what you're working on? Is the marketing mechanism to find sellers and find buyers? Is that what you just are trying to bring to the market in the world of franchising?
Yeah, that's a good question. So definitely the business model on the acquisition side, on the disposition side, and also all the the process, software, system, workflow we're using. And also, we don't want to just franchise out to like everybody. We want to make sure there's value aligned, mission aligned. So basically, how you build a team, how you train your people is also something come together with our franchise model.
Yeah, and we'll have it proven, since we have the 5 corporate offices, we'll have it proven that the blueprint the franchise blueprint works no matter where your market is, if you work, right? And like Helena said, we don't want to just send it to anybody. The whole reason to start the franchise and do all this is to teach other people how to go ahead and create this financial instrument that will create wealth for themselves and their families, allow them to have the necessary choice freedom and be entrepreneurs, as long as, with us helping them throughout the time, because we have the proven model. So this way we could help more people, get out of get off the golden handcuffs, create the life that they want for their family, and teach people how to start up a business. And we don't want to just do that with somebody that's going to look to, steal people's equity and steal people's money and all this stuff. We want people that are going to give more than they receive. That's kind of who we're looking to attract. So if you're a great business owner, but you're not a good person, I don't want you as a franchisee.
I mean, it's easy to see that the two of you are so passionate about what you do, and that you put your word and your name on the line, and you're not going to risk it for anybody, and that you hold integrity to the highest level. And that's the type of people that Josh and I always look to do business with. And we're really excited about everything that you guys are going to continue to achieve. Where can our listeners connect and find you guys?
Yeah, you could connect with me on Instagram. It's at John Galan REI. It's JOHNGALAN REI. And you could send us, if you're wholesaling in Florida or even looking to, get some properties from us, you could email us at deals, DEALS, at EasyRes.com. And we could connect that way as well. And then Helena.
So those, if you have deals, or if you just have a general question about wholesaling, you can email to that email address, and we'll direct you to the right point of contact. And my Instagram is Helena Wu Abundance, HELENAWU, and the word abundance. And we just created a new Facebook group, like private Facebook group. We'll be operating. So if you just email us or DM us, we'll bring you to the Facebook group, help to teach you wholesaling, answer any questions people might have.
That was actually pretty funny. I just started following the both of you, and when I clicked on Instagram, a reel popped up, and I hope it didn't hit our show, but that was hilarious.
It did not. You guys are wonderful. Can't wait to see you again. Let's get one of those or a few of those deals done in St. Augustine. Thank you guys for everything you're doing.
Thank you, guys.
Sounds great. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Damn straight. We just got
buddy.
We got to the end of another great show. And everyone listening right now, you're the family and friends. Thanks for staying till the end.
That was so fun. And hey, hit the like, hit subscribe. We're here to serve you guys. That's why we're doing this show. Josh is not paying me. I'm doing this off of my quote unquote sweat equity, because we want to make a difference in your life. And then that ripple effect will continue to touch the world.
Hey, amen, brother. Please check us out on capitalhacking.com, all the social media threads. And yes, I know you've probably already sent this episode to one of your best friends. Thank you. We love you. Just go right into your iPhone, hit the plus symbol. We'll talk to you later. See you next week.
Share.